Welcome back. So far we've covered using a tracking camera and adding a static view camera for a whiteboard perhaps. But what if we want to do different things depending on how many people are on the stage? Well, you can imagine a scenario where your tracking camera is so far zoomed in on the presenter that it can't even see that there's someone else who's walked onto the stage. Now, for this reason, we can add a conductor camera. This is a third type of camera which can be used to analyze the entire stage at all times, and it does this using the second channel of a Seervision server. This means that that camera can always see how many people are on stage, and you can take different actions depending on the number of people. Let's take a look how we do that.
As we mentioned earlier, a two-channel Seervision server is running two completely separate instances of the Seervision suite. We can access that second instance by putting /2 at the end of the IP address or by pressing the button at the top of the Seervision user interface. I've already linked this second instance to my conductor camera, and you can see that this conductor camera has a really good view of the whole presentation area at all times. This is perfect because we can add a trigger zone to keep track of all people on stage even when the tracking camera is fully zoomed in. Of course, because there are displays inside the trigger zone, we've also added a couple of exclusion zones to make sure people shown on screen do not trigger events. We'll also add a conductor camera to our Seervision plugin properties, and then open up the plugin to see what's changed. You can see that the setup page lets us add another Seervision IP address and another instance for the conductor camera, and we also have a conductor cameras page, which looks exactly the same as our tracking cameras page. Because of course, both of these cameras can have trigger zones that interact with the plugin in the same way. From the setup page, we can now link the plugin to the second instance on our Seervision server, and we're going to do this in exactly the same way we did in the basic presenter tracking video. With everything connected, our first job is to create an event for when there are multiple people in that big trigger zone. This will be when someone enters the zone in addition to the first presenter, so we'll set the event type to entered and the persons to 2+. This will work for any number of people above 1. For the action, we're going to recall a position container which frames the entire stage. We also need an event for when the second presenter leaves, with only one presenter remaining. So let's change the event type to leave and the persons to 1, because there's one person remaining after the event. When this happens, we want to go back to tracking on the tracking camera, so we'll choose our tracking container here. Note that with these two events, we're recalling tracking and position containers on camera 1, but the triggers are from camera 2, which is the conductor camera. So let's see it in action. Here we have one person being tracked. Note that there is another person on the display, but that's not doing anything because it's in an exclusion zone, which is why that person has a red box around them. Now we see the second presenter appear. You can see that as soon as they're recognized and their bounding box turns green, we also get a trigger LED in Q-SYS for the entered event. Immediately you can see the tracking camera moving towards the position container we set up to frame the whole stage. Now, once these guys have finished chatting and the second presenter leaves, we can see that we get a triggered LED for the leave event, and the camera starts moving back towards its tracking container.
So that's how you set up multiple presenters. Now, you've covered a lot in this course: hardware and software, getting connected to Q-SYS, basic tracking, adjusting the tracking, exclusion zones, static view cameras, multiple presenters, and you're one assessment away from being Seervision Commissioning Level 1 certified. Now remember, once you get certified, you still need to sign up for Seervision Commissioning Level 2 in order to be able to commission Seervision systems in the field. There you'll learn a whole lot more, including adding in ACPR and auto framing to your Seervision systems. I'm sure we'll see you again soon, but regardless, thank you so much for coming to Seervision Commissioning Level 1. I hope you've learned a lot, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thanks so much.